That guy's going to be some senator one day.
Well, Wi-Fi tests have been conducted. The internet is hopefully going to hold out this time. For those of you who joined us live on Wednesday, you know what I'm talking about. And for those of you who didn't, just pretend that nothing is happening. We are here live for the last live stream of Our Lord 2025. Oh, almost went out again. Barring any crazy circumstances that I just feel compelled, I have to go live and talk about this. This will probably be the last live stream of 2025. That does not mean this will be the last of my content for 2025. We'll get into that a little bit later, but this will be the last live stream. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for all the support that you guys have given me this last year. And it's a very special day. It's a very special day around here in the official Jesse Hughes Show studio, which is my bedroom. We have officially reached UNC status. All of the guys my age will know what I'm talking about. I have officially reached UNC status. I have turned 24 years old today. The Lord has blessed me immensely with 24 years of life. It is a great day. And in celebration of the big 2-4, the reaching of UNC status, we pop the lid off of our weekly ceremonial sip of chair wine. You know what? That was probably the problem. That was probably the problem on Wednesday, was that I didn't have my chair wine with me. Excuse me. I ran out of chair wine. I didn't have any. I didn't have time to go to the store and get any. And so I didn't have my chair wine to do my chair wine sip. And so that's obviously why we experienced technical internet difficulties on Wednesday and did not get to talk about the things that I wanted to talk about. Now, we are going to change things up a little bit. If you tuned in Wednesday, you got to hear some exclusive first run edition of this show, and that will be memory hold into the internet forever, and nobody will ever see that again. So congratulations, pat yourself on the back. You got to see something special. So for today, we're going to be talking about some of the same things, but some of the ways I'm going to go about this might be a little bit different than I had originally planned. So we're just going to get right into it, all right? 2025 has been marked as the year of the MAGA Civil War. We see this going on right now, and it really ramped up after the unfortunate incident on September 10th, the martyrdom of Charlie Kirk. It really ramped up after that. Charlie really was the glue that was holding us all together all along. Who would have thought? But things have ramped up in the recent weeks, and we see this MAGA civil war going on, and it's over these issues like the Epstein files, and it's over Israel, and it's over Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it's over the H-1B visas, and it's over all of these things which on their own do bear some importance, some more than others. But when you're looking at things from a grand scheme, when you're looking at things from a long-term perspective, when you're looking at the bigger picture, I don't really know if these are the issues and the things that we should be dividing on long-term. So let's just go in order here. Let's start. So let's wind the clock back. It's January 2025. President Trump enters the White House. I'm not going to do a full breakdown of every single thing yet that he has done this year. If you want to go see a really good breakdown, John Doyle just released an episode of his podcast entitled "What Has Trump Actually Accomplished So Far?" He released that either last night or the night before, and it is a very good breakdown of the things that Trump has actually accomplished, which by all intensive purposes, if these things, John said this, and I agree, if these things would have been stretched out over the 4 years total so far that we've gotten, I would have marked it off as a pretty good presidency. You know, not everything we wanted, but it would have been pretty good. We've seen the administration wage war basically against anti-white racism, something that a lot of us have been talking about for a while. We've seen them go full force on deportations. Now, obviously, and I talked a little bit about this earlier this week when we had our internet troubles, when it comes to the deportation issue, and also when it comes to the economy, and when it comes to a whole host of these issues, you've got to remember, we're in month 10 of this thing. We're not even 10 months in. We are very early into this 4-year period, and people are acting like we're supposed to have 4 years of change immediately. We've been battling against at least 4, you could even argue longer, even up to 40, 50, 60 years of institutional rot and decay and bad actors infiltrating our institutions. You're not going to fix all of that in 10 months, and smart people know this. You go online and you have these low IQ individuals who both look and act like they're from the third world, saying that Trump has betrayed us. He's not delivering on any of his promises. He's doing this, he's doing that. But you've got to realize we're only a few months into this thing. This is supposed to be a 4-year project. It's probably actually going to take longer than 4 years to get everything really in place. And people are supposed to act like it's all supposed to be fixed and all supposed to be normal in just a matter of a few months. Now, I will say, just a little bit of friendly, constructive criticism. The Trump administration's rhetoric has not really helped that too much. When you go into something and you say, this is our golden age, it's here, it's right now, things are going to be great, instead of saying we're going to build the golden age, which would have been tempered expectations a little bit, you would have a little bit more breathing room where maybe not as many people are going absolutely schizophrenic and criticizing you left and right. But, we got the messaging that we got. We were told we're entering into the golden age, and I think we actually are entering into a golden age in American history, but it's going to be something that it's going to take time to build. You're not going to see every single result that you want in just 10 months. We have 600,000, over 600, close to 650,000 people that have been deported from this country since January. Is that enough? No. Is it a good start? Yeah, especially considering what we witnessed the last 4 years, where we had a completely wide open border and ICE wasn't able to do anything. ICE wasn't allowed to do its job. Yeah, 650,000 in 10 months. Yeah, that's pretty nice. That's pretty good. Plus a couple million self-deportations. We have net negative migration into the country for the first time in at least my lifetime, probably many of yours as well. I would say we're off to a pretty successful start. Yeah, we've had some flubs along the way, and we're going to get into that. But I would say we're off to a pretty successful start. You're not going to get everything you want in the first 10 months of a presidency. You have to temper expectations. 650,000 deportations isn't enough. I agree. But guess what happened? Over the summer, the Big Beautiful Bill passed. Part of the Big Beautiful Bill was that by this time, ICE was going to secure enough funding to hire in fact, they've hired a lot more agents. I'm getting the spinning wheel of death on my end a couple of times. I'm hoping that this does not end up like it did Wednesday. But ICE has finally got the funding. They're going to be able to do what they need to do. They're going to be able to ramp up the numbers. We're going to see the numbers increase. It's going to happen. You just have to be patient. That's one thing that a lot of people don't realize is with some of this stuff, there has to be a level of patience. You're not going to get everything you want just right off the bat. Same thing with the economy. Yeah, the economy is not good for my generation right now. We are unable to buy homes. We are unable to get good jobs. Even if we have good college degrees, we're unable to do a lot of this stuff. Living is still somewhat unaffordable for some people in my generation. That is a problem. That is something that needs to be addressed. But again, we went through, after COVID, 4 years of the Biden administration putting through horrible monetary policy that sped up inflation, that ruined the economy. You're not going to be able to just fix that in 10 months. It's going to take some time. They've made some good progress. Now it's our turn to be patient and to give constructive criticism when it's appropriate, and to also cheer them along when they're doing good, when the Trump administration's doing good things. And we will see the economic conditions continue to improve. They've already improved somewhat. I mean, I just went and got gas the other day. I got gas for $2.60 a gallon. This time last year, it was well over $3. Gas is going down. Grocery prices, to a certain extent, have gone down a little bit. Some things are still more expensive. Some things are continuing to go up. But there are other indications that some things are going down and that the conditions are improving slightly. It's going to continue to get better. It has gotten better, and it's going to continue to keep getting better, barring some wild, crazy thing happening that nobody expects in the next couple of years. People have to realize you're not going to get everything you want to get in just a couple of months. It's going to take some time. Again, I want to see more. I'm hoping to see more. I am encouraging more action. And when appropriate, slight chimp outs are okay. But you cannot be constantly chimping out, or else you're just going to get tuned out. You have to be patient. Things will improve. You just have to be patient. And part of that, again, is rhetoric. and messaging. And, some of the messaging on some topics has not been ideal, and we'll get into that a little bit here in a second. But you have to be patient on these things. It's not all, Rome wasn't built in a day. We know this. It's going to take some time to get things where they need to be. But there are a ton of things outside of actual policy and actual administrative policy that have been stoking the fire of this civil war. And the first hints of this happened over the summer when the Trump administration decided it was going to bomb Iran, something that I was personally against, but voices that I trusted were cautioning, hey guys, just, don't freak out. Things are going to be okay. And so I watched and I waited, and what do you know? We're not in World War III, which is good, but still people were freaking out and saying the Trump administration is Israel first, and they're throwing everything to Israel, and they're beholden to Israel and this and that. And it created what has only ramped up in the past few weeks, this incredibly toxic discourse around the subject of Israel that has, it drives me nuts. It drives me insane what is happening. Because where I stand on this issue, and where I think the majority of normal people in the country stand on this issue, is when it comes to foreign alliances, I would like to see all foreign aid scrapped personally. I would like to see a kind of refocusing away from the rest of the world and onto America. But I think the normal person is just kind of the opinion, but the vice president articulated a few weeks ago of like, when it serves America's interest, yeah, let's be friends with Israel. And when it doesn't, okay, they're just another country. And at my base level, I mean, if we're going to maintain the kind of foreign policy we have right now, that's the best position to have. But instead of the normal people having their voices heard on this issue, you kind of have these two sides. One side is this hyper-Zionist coalition of people that say that Israel is the greatest place on the face of the planet, and if you're against Israel for any reason whatsoever, if you show any disloyalty whatsoever to the nation of Israel, you're a traitor, you're an anti-Semite, you're a racist, you're this, you're that. And then on the other side, you have the people that blame Israel and blame the Jews for all of their problems. Now, there are conversations we can have on these subjects, but they blame Israel for every single little thing. The United States, things are expensive because of Israel. We're being invaded by illegals because of Israel. I can't get a girlfriend because of Israel. They blame everything on Israel. And those are the two extremes of this debate. And those are, unfortunately, the loudest voices getting the most engagement on social media platforms. And it just drives me insane. Because that's not where anybody else is other than these two camps. Everybody else is just like, Israel, when it's good for us, yeah, we'll be friends with them. And when it's not, okay, whatever. That's the normal person position. But instead, you have voices amplified on both sides that just make you want to stick your head through a wall and never come out. And it drives you nuts. And so we saw the first cracks in the coalition over the summer over this Israel issue, and it's only continued to get worse and worse. And it's enabled grifters and bad faith people to make a name for themselves off of this issue. And we'll get into a couple of those here in a minute, but it's enabled bad people to make names for themselves and to counter signal the president and to also wage this proxy war against J.D. Vance, who personally I think should be the Republican nominee and should be the president in 2028. You have on both sides, you have people that say if J.D. Vance isn't beholden to our interest and doesn't cater to our interests, then we're going to stand against him. You see it on the hyper anti-Zionist side as well as the hyper Zionist side. Because you have some people that are trying to tie him to bad people like the Groy person, Nick Fuentes, and you have Nick Fuentes saying J.D. Vance doesn't listen to us and doesn't listen to the Groypers, and we're going to make sure he doesn't get the nomination, even though we failed to do that in 2024 with Trump. You've just got crazy people on both sides who are saying insane things. And it makes me want to delete all of my social media and go buy a cabin in the woods and just read books for the rest of my life, which honestly might be better than some of what's going on right now, especially as I'm staring down the barrel of finals season in law school coming up here in a couple of weeks. It really makes you want to go find a cabin in the middle of rural Montana where nobody can reach you and just say, sayonara, screw this, I'm out. And yet here we are. And so the Israel issue is really what I think started putting the cracks in the coalition. But we had good people, namely we had Charlie Kirk, who was able to hold things together, and I didn't give him enough credit at the time. Charlie Kirk really was the glue that held this movement together, and he is the reason that we didn't all go completely insane. But unfortunately, he was murdered by a deranged radical leftist, and now things have been falling apart ever since. And one of the reasons for that is in the background in the aftermath of Charlie being assassinated, what should have been this moment for us to all collectively unify together and say, yes, this is our moment. Let's finally crush and defeat the evil that we're facing once and for all and actually usher in a true golden age for America and honor Charlie's legacy. Instead, we get retards going crazy. And part of that was caused by the fact that a couple weeks after his death, our friend Tucker Carlson, whom I do still have a lot of respect for because I still believe he is one of the most effective voices in our movement, and he has bought himself a lot of rope for me personally, decided to have an interview with the aforementioned Nick Fuentes, and in that interview, he did not really push back on a lot of stuff. He pushed back a little bit. He did push back a little bit more than some people give him credit for, but he didn't push back enough on some stuff that he should have. And I'm not going to criticize and tell Tucker how to run his show. But at the same time, I do think that interview was a mistake because in the aftermath of it, we have just had the most low IQ, brain dead discourse, especially on X, for weeks. And it is something to behold. And it's brought a lot of bad people. It's brought a lot of grifters into the limelight on both sides of the debate who nobody should really be listening to, but they're making names off of themselves by either saying, I'm completely with Tucker 100% of the way, and MAGA is dead, and America First is the only way, which I thought, America First was part of MAGA, but, whatever. And then you have people on the other side saying that Tucker Carlson is a cancer that needs to be cut out of the conservative movement and that there's no place for him here anymore. And both sides are stupid. My whole goal with this show today is just to make as many people mad as possible, isn't it? Both sides are stupid. Both sides are dumb, and we should stop listening to both of them. Tucker is still a good guy. Tucker is still an important piece. Nick is not somebody that I would personally recommend to people. But you know what? We live in the world we live in now, and we're dealing with the cards that we've been dealt. I don't think that this whole Groyper movement is actually going to make that big of a dent in things. When you look online, it looks like there's a whole lot of engagement on this issue. It looks like there's Groypers here and Groypers there and Groypers everywhere. And there are truthfully a lot of young men who do fall into that camp. And I've talked about this a little bit on my X account where there are plenty of reasons to criticize the things that Nick is saying and to criticize the Groyper movement. You can point to the fact that they just have horrible political instincts, whether it's attempting to bring 10,000 people out to Michigan in 2024 to keep Trump from winning the state and completely failing on that point, or whether it's Nick Fuentes recently saying that the left needs to drop immigration and that the nationalist right needs to unite with the populist left and the progressives and form a new populist coalition, because that is something that is actually 100% totally in the realm of possibility and is completely believable. Listen, I have no interest. All right. I have no interest whatsoever in partnering with people who, one, they're not going to drop the immigration issue. It's not going to happen. But also, two, they want to abort and kill all of my children, all of your children, all of everybody's children. They want to abort and kill as many kids as they can. The kids that survive, they want to mutilate and give these life-altering surgeries and life-altering chemicals to in the name of their supposed progress. They want to murder political opponents. They elect people who openly say they want to murder their political opponents. And then when their political opponents are murdered, they openly celebrate it. They want to kill me. They want to kill you. They want to ruin my children. They want to ruin your children. I don't have children yet, but when I do, they're certainly going to come after them. Yeah, I don't have an interest in partnering with those people, regardless of whether or not they drop their stance on immigration. I don't. I have no desire whatsoever to partner with people that just spent the last couple of months proving to me over and over and over again that they actually don't care about my life and they want me to die. I have no interest whatsoever in partnering with people who commented on my X post that they hope that I got the same treatment as Charlie Kirk. I have no interest in partnering with those people whatsoever. Whether or not it's in the advancement of populism or your weird conception of quote unquote America first, that when you actually dive into the details has nothing to do with America and just has something to do with your weird resentments because people unfortunately flubbed on how they interacted with you when it came to the question of Israel. I have no interest in that. None. At all. Not my thing. I'm not interested. I will not buy. I will not hold. I will not get on board with that. Just won't. And you know what? If that makes some people not like me, then whatever. I don't care. I am not going to partner with people that killed somebody who I considered a hero and looked up to and celebrated openly and continue to celebrate openly. I don't have any interest in that. I don't have interest in partnering with the people that just elected in the state which I currently reside an attorney general candidate who openly bragged about the fact that he wanted to murder his political opponent. Hitler, Pol Pot, the Republican Speaker of the Virginia House of Delegates, line them all up, 2 bullets and a gun, put both of them in the Republican Speaker's head, have his children die in their mother's arms so that they'll change their minds on gun policy. Yeah, no, I'm not partnering with that. Not at all. Will not, do not, am not interested, do not care, do not want anything to do with that. In fact, I don't want that side to be my partner. I actually want that side to be crushed into oblivion and to never have power again, and for their godless ideology to be wiped off the face of the earth. And I pray that these people receive the salvation of Jesus Christ. But if they don't, then they will face the eternal judgment that they deserve. That's what I want when it comes to the left. That is exactly what I want. I want leftism, progressivism, all of the isms. I want them completely wiped off the face of the earth. I want evil to be crushed. I want judgment to be done. I want to see God break the teeth of the wicked. I don't want to partner with the wicked. I want them crushed, destroyed. Sayonara. I have no tolerance for evil, and you shouldn't either. And if anybody is out here telling you that you should be partnering with evil in order to get the goals that you want, that person is either evil themselves or ignorantly stupid and lying to you. They have very bad political instincts, and you should not listen to them. You should not listen to them. That is my opinion on that whole fiasco. Now, there's a whole number of other issues and other fiascos going on as well. And this is about the place last time where my internet started crapping out. But we're going to talk about our good friend Thomas Massie here for a minute. Now, I want to say from the outset, I know somebody that works in Thomas Massie's office. He is a very good friend, and I mean him no ill will. However, his boss is an idiot. But he went to MIT, but he's got this high IQ, but he's an idiot. He's a grandstanding grifter and an idiot, and not somebody that I am. We would be better off without him in the party. I'm just going to be clear on that. And he has proven that on many different terms. First off, the most obvious point, when it comes to immigration, when it comes to voting records, he has the worst voting record on immigration, Thomas Massie, out of anybody in the Republican House Conference. Immigration is really the number one issue that matters right now, all right? Israel, Epstein files, this, that, the other. Okay, all of that stuff, that's sidebar. Immigration is really the number one issue that matters right now. It is. And Thomas Massie has the worst voting record out of anybody in the House Republican Conference on that issue. You can go and you can look up the metrics. I think it's either Center for Immigration Studies or another one of those immigration think tanks. They actually track this. They track this stuff, and they put out a scorecard. And when it comes to the House Republicans, right there at the bottom of the list of House Republicans is one Mr. Thomas Massie. So first off, if you need any reason whatsoever not to like him, there's reason number one. But then you get into some of the other reasons as well. First off, we're gonna backtrack a little bit here to a couple of years ago, which I know that a lot of people unfortunately have the attention span of they only remember what happened like 5 minutes ago. So we're gonna go back a couple years ago. And you guys who are watching this, you're not like that. You're smart. The people that are watching this program are smart. They remember this stuff. But for anybody that comes across this and doesn't remember, in 2022, there was a red splash, not a wave, a splash, where Republicans won the midterms, barely, and regained control of the House of Representatives and the Senate. And we had this wild fiasco where a group of about 20 House Republicans stood up and said, yeah, we don't want Kevin McCarthy to be Speaker, and caused this whole battle that at the time people thought was going to completely fracture and ruin the party. And it turned out it didn't. Things were actually okay for a while. But you had this speaker battle with Kevin McCarthy in early 2023. And part of the deal that came out of that, where eventually it was decided, yep, McCarthy will be Speaker, we're going to allow that to happen. Part of that deal was that there would be single subject spending bills, which there should be, and that there would be certain people who were part of the Freedom Caucus or were Freedom Caucus adjacent that would be put on the House Rules Committee. And one of those individuals was Thomas Massie. He got put on the Rules Committee. And then a few months go by, Kevin McCarthy breaks his promise and starts trying to ram through a Biden spending bill that you would think someone like Thomas Massie would be completely opposed to. Because let's look at this. He's got a little bit of a libertarian streak in him. He is very much what you would call, at least in rhetoric, a spending hawk. He wears this little lapel pin that has the debt clock on it, and it's synced up to the Wi-Fi wherever he's at, and it has the debt clock in real time going, and it shows you what the national debt is. And he's always talking about, we're spending too much money on this, we're spending too much money on that. I'm against this policy in this bill because it spends too much money. I'm against that policy in that bill because it spends too much money. Okay, so now here we have a Biden spending bill that's making its way through the House of Representatives, and it has to go through the Rules Committee. And Thomas Massie has an opportunity to put his money where his mouth is, pun intended, and to actually stand on principle and say, no, we're going to kill this thing right here. We're going back to the negotiating table. And what does he do? He votes to let that bill pass the Rules Committee and go to the floor, where it eventually passes and goes to the Senate, where it passes there, and then it goes to the desk of Joe Biden. He spent all of this time and continues to spend a lot of his time talking about how we need to reduce spending and stand against fiscal irresponsibility. And he votes for a bill that spits in the face of the very principles he claims to espouse. Am I the only one that sees an issue with this? Am I the only one who realizes the stupidity of this? And then, you go through the rest of the Biden administration. He plays this game where he doesn't endorse anybody until the last minute. He finally endorses Trump in like October of 2024 because he thinks that he can get Secretary of Agriculture, and he hears that his name is up for Secretary of Agriculture, but he has to endorse Trump to get it. And then, as we know, he doesn't get it. But he waits until there's something in it for him to actually endorse Trump. And then ever since Trump has been in office, he's been playing like he's some principled opposition leader to Trump. He was pro-Israel up until the point where it was clear that there was a faction of the Republican Party that was becoming anti-Israel, and now all of a sudden he's talking about, Israel, we need to cut off funding to Israel. We need to stand against AIPAC. He'd never mentioned these issues before this summer when it was politically convenient for him. He's trying to play into an audience and to gain himself notoriety, and it's just it's odd. It's strange. It's weird. And it should cause you to pause when you hear him say things that make you think, oh, this guy's good. This guy's on our side. This guy's great. And then you actually look at it and you go, wait, hold on. He did what? He said this, but now he did this? Wait a second. That doesn't make sense. That's because it's not supposed to make sense. It's supposed to make you go crazy. He's playing us. He's playing it. That's what he's doing. And you know what? I support the idea of him getting primaried, and I support the idea of him getting kicked out of office, because this stuff is just insane. And I made a couple of people mad a few weeks ago because Trump put out this thing about attacking Massie, and he said something about him getting remarried kind of soon, and that his new wife was going to find out she married a loser. And I said, this is kind of funny, and it reminds me of 2016 energy, and people got mad at me for that. Listen, I stand by that. I'm not going to apologize for that. I understand the optics of it aren't great, and I'm somebody that preaches optics 24/7, but I stand at least by the point that it shows that there's still this 2016 spirit in Trump, and we all loved, or at least I loved, 2016 Trump, and I think that we need to get that back and focus it on important issues. And so I thought it was funny, but I understand, some people thought it was distasteful. I had some friends tweeting about how it was distasteful for a U.S. president to say something like that, a sitting president to say something like that. I'm like, guys, this isn't even like in the top 10 of the worst things Trump has ever said. Like, come on now. Let's be real about this for a moment. This is kind of middle of the pack. This is kind of tame. I've heard Trump say a lot worse than this about people. I mean, do you guys remember 2016? Come on, guys. So, yeah. The next kind of part of this whole civil war, so to speak, this whole is MAGA dead thing, is this whole issue about the Epstein files that have been going on forever. I just want to remind people, in case you don't remember, I actually went back and did the research, and at the height of this whole thing, people were complaining about, oh, Trump said he was going to release the Epstein files, and now he's back, and now he's backing off of that. He's doing a reversal. He lied to us, this and the other. I actually went back, and during the campaign, he never really talked about it all that much. He talked about it like twice. Both of them were on podcasts where he just randomly got asked a question about it. And he said both times, hey, we're going to look into everything. We'll look into it. We'll see if there's anything there. And if there is, we'll release it. And that was literally all he ever said about it. I think really the main one who was really driving the whole Epstein files thing was Elon Musk. And people, because he was associated with the campaign and was kind of seen as a campaign surrogate, people took Elon Musk's word for gospel and thought, oh, we're going to get the Epstein files. And then you have Pam Bondi, who comes out and does a, in my opinion, terrible job messaging on the issue. We all remember the whole influencer thing that happened where all of these right-wing influencers got invited to the White House and got for something completely different, by the way. I don't know if you guys remember this. They got invited to the White House for something completely different, and then all of a sudden got pulled into this room and given binders by Pam Bondi that said Epstein Files Release Project Phase 1 or something like that, and got completely blindsided by the media after they walked out of the White House. And it was a very bad look. And the way that this whole thing has been handled, again, another point of constructive criticism, the way this whole thing has been handled has not been good. And I think that's played into a lot of the issues that we've seen in terms of this whole, like, oh, the MAGA coalition is fracturing and everything. And so it's caused a lot of conspiracy theories. It's kind of backfired a little bit on the Democrats, which I think is funny. Because you had the vote in the House and the Senate the other day, and the president signed a bill that would release a lot of information on the Epstein files. And then you had the House Oversight Committee also slow. They released like 60,000 documents, 60,000 pages of documents on this. And Democrats were pointing to where Trump was like barely mentioned a couple of times and saying, see, he's in the files. See, we've got him now. And then it backfires when it's revealed that, oh, wait, actually Jeffrey Epstein was calling up Jamie Raskin and giving money to Jasmine Crockett and was getting dinner with this person and was supporting these policies. And wait, was Jeffrey Epstein involved in Russiagate? Was he like helping with the whole impeachment hoax? Yeah, it kind of backfired on these guys. And it's actually hilarious to see. And now you've got them kind of backing off of it and backpedaling and trying to point to individual. You had Jasmine Crockett on the floor of the House the other day saying, oh, y'all are getting mad at me because I supposedly took money from Epstein. Well, Lee Zeldin also took money from Epstein, and then it turns out it's a completely different person who just happens to share the name Jeffrey Epstein, and was giving Lee Zeldin money after the actual Jeffrey Epstein had died. And then she had to come back and do this complete double take and try and pretend like, oh, well, we were just saying that they got money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein. We weren't trying to insinuate that it was that Jeffrey Epstein. Come on, give me a break. Give me a break. This whole thing is so dumb. This whole thing is so, and so you know you have that whole thing. And then we also have our friend Marjorie Taylor Greene. And okay, before I get into this, I just want to say from the outset, my instincts on people have been vindicated so many times over the past year. I never liked Marjorie Taylor Greene. I always thought she was a bit of a kook. I always thought she was a little bit nutty. I always thought she was a little bit crazy, trying to do the whole firebrand thing just a little bit too hard. And I think that's kind of been vindicated the last few days, where she's gone on this insane anti-Trump tangent where she's revealing herself just to be another resist lib, and it's so funny. You know, people don't remember some of the crazy stuff about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Do you guys remember when her and Lauren Boebert had this whole feud where they were calling each other whores and words that I'm not going to repeat on our family-friendly program on the floor of the House of Representatives? Do you guys remember that? That was, drop a comment if you remember that. Tell me if you remember that and what your reaction to that whole thing was, because that was one of the weirdest times in politics. Yeah, I've never liked these people. I've never really been a fan of them. And so you've got this whole thing now where it honestly started a few weeks ago. Apparently, Trump told her that she couldn't win in Georgia if she ran for Senate or governor, and that pissed her off. And I mean, Trump was right. If she ran for senator or governor in Georgia, she wouldn't have won. If she would have gotten nominated, John Ossoff definitely would have won the Senate race. I mean, like, you have to be realistic and strategic about some of these things. Like, yeah, I want the most right-wing people to win most of these elections. But sometimes the most right-wing person for one state is not going to be as sufficiently right-wing for some people as the most right-wing person in another state. All right. We don't need, like, who's somebody that's super right-wing? Like, think of like Pat Buchanan, I guess. I don't know. I love Pat Buchanan. He would win pretty easily in a lot of red states. I don't know if he would win. Like, if he was running today, like in the 90s, I think he could have won. I think he could have won the presidency. I think he probably could have won anywhere he ran, unless it was like a D+40 district. But, like, just for sake of take me. Let's pretend that I'm trying to find some random place to run for office. I would probably win pretty easily in Tennessee or Oklahoma or like North Dakota. I don't think that I would have as easy of a time in, say, Pennsylvania or New Jersey or even Georgia. Like, you have to be strategic with who you run where, because not everywhere is going to have a good candidate. So Marjorie Taylor Greene probably wouldn't have won statewide in Georgia, and Trump realizes that because he actually knows how to play politics. And so she gets mad and starting to counter signal Trump on some stuff with the whole AIPAC and Israel thing. And look, I'm no fan of AIPAC, but, like, come on, man. Is this really the hill we're dying on? But I want all foreign money out of the United States. Yes, 100%. But if that is going to cause, if advocating for that position is going to cause you to basically become a Democrat, yeah, I'm not interested in what you're selling. And why do I say she's basically become a Democrat? Because, well, first off, she endorsed the idea of amnesty for illegal immigrants, saying, you know, these mass deportations, they're kind of mean. There's some hardworking people that work at my construction company that they shouldn't be deported. They need to be given a path to citizenship. So just for if the Department of Homeland Security wants to do an investigation into Taylor Construction Company in a suburb just north of Atlanta, Georgia, which name I cannot pronounce, but I posted about this the other day. If the Department of Homeland Security wants to do a investigation into Taylor Construction Company just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, you might be surprised what you find. Probably not. And so you have her endorsing this idea of amnesty, and then she goes on The View and lets them trash talk Trump and just kind of nods her head and laughs along and is like, oh, yay, I'm getting relevancy on left-wing media, and these people are being nice to me because I'm going along with the fact that they're hating the president. And then, so obviously, Trump revokes his endorsement of her, which, smart move. She's going to act like that, then yeah, if I was Trump, I wouldn't endorse her either. And then she goes on this whole thing about how she's sorry that she played into this toxic toxicity that's going on in politics right now, and that the Charlie Kirk assassination to her proved that there are good people on both sides who just want to come together. I'm sorry, what? The Charlie Kirk assassination showed you that there's good people on both sides who want to just come together? Really? Because what it proved to me is that there's actually evil people that want to kill me and my family, and we should crush them. There are evil people that want to kill me and my family. And they're part of a group called Antifa that needs to be, the entire power of the judicial system needs to be brought down upon these people, and they need to be thrown in jail. And you think that the real lesson from all of this is actually we just all need to come together and sing Kumbaya? I'm sorry, that's not what time it is. That's not where we're at right now. That is not the lesson that you should have learned from the last couple of months of discourse on the right. We just had a guy who wants to kill people elected as Attorney General in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Nah, I'm not playing this game. I'm not going to try and pander for leftist views and show you I'm not like those bad MAGA Republicans. I'm an America First Republican who is nice to the lefties and just wants AIPAC to be kicked out and for the Epstein files to be released. I don't want the mean mass deportations. Okay. I'm sorry. That's what won Trump the presidency, was the promise of mass deportations. If you're counter-signaling Trump, you're counter-signaling 60 or 70 million Americans that voted for him because he promised to get bad people out of the country who don't deserve to be here. And you're over here saying, well, some of them are actually good. No, they broke the law. Kick them out. I want them out of my country. All of them. Every single one of them. They have to go back. Every single one. They all have to go back. ICE raids are amazing. They are a good thing. ICE actually doing its job is a good thing. The deportations are a good thing. Get them all out. Jesse, don't you think that's kind of right? I don't care if they're Mexican or if they're British. If they're illegal, kick them out. Bye. See ya. Sayonara. Don't want you here. We should also denaturalize some immigrants who are legal, but that's a conversation that some of y'all aren't ready for. Ilhan Omar and Zoran Mamdani shouldn't be American citizens. They should also be getting deported, but that's a conversation some of you guys aren't ready for, so we'll have that one another time. But yeah, the biggest thing that I have learned from witnessing the discourse the last few weeks is that some people are able to remain focused and have patience and be able to actually identify and realize, oh, I know, this is what time it is. These are the issues that are actually important. These are the things we need to be focused on. And once we get victory over here, yeah, these things are important over here too. Like, I don't like foreign money in our elections. Okay, I don't like that. We should get rid of it. But there's an order of operations here, all right? Y'all, let me take y'all back to elementary school. Y'all remember PEMDAS? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, parentheses. Why am I blank? Parentheses, multiplication, division. Exponents. That's what it was. It's been a long time since I've taken a math class, in case you can't tell. When you hear some people complaining about you don't use some of the stuff you learn in school later in life, that's because you actually don't. I can't tell you the last time I've actually used the quadratic formula or something like that. So you got, please excuse my parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, subtraction. It's an order of operations you do when you're doing a math problem. Just like that number of operations do when you're doing politics. And that means putting the first things first and focusing on what the immediate most important threats are and going from there. And the immediate most important threat to our country right now, it is not Israel. It is not the Jeffrey Epstein files. It is not what, if any, role the FBI played in killing Martin Luther King Jr. It's not whatever pet issue that you like we can talk about these things. I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about them. Like, I have plenty of personal small pet issues that I think that we need to think about invoking into government as we gain more and more power and as we go along, like certain restrictions on certain immigration policies and certain things when it comes to how to deal with the housing crisis and whether or not the Army-Navy game should be a national holiday. Like, yeah, I have my pet issues as well. But those aren't the most important thing. The most important thing is deporting like 100 million people from this country right now. That's the most important thing. And so if you're standing against that, you're standing against me and all of my friends actually being able to have a nice country to live in. And so anyone who is using whatever pet issue that they have to stand against the things that are the most important, yeah, get out. I have no patience for you. I have no time for your games and hearing this or that or whatever. Let's ramp up the deportations. Let's take back our country, and then we can have conversations about these other things. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. So like I said from the outset, and in case you can't read the title for some weird reason, this is our last live stream of the year 2025. That does not mean that this is the last content that I will produce in the year 2025. Over the next few weeks, things are going to be a little crazy for me. A lot of traveling for the holidays. So I've got Thanksgiving this upcoming week, going home for that. And then right after that, I've got 2 weeks of final exams. And in law school, final exams are not something to be played with. And then after that, I've got a lot of traveling for Christmas. Me and my fiance, we're driving from here to North Carolina, to Mississippi, to Texas, to Nashville, back here. So in between all of that stuff, I will continue to be producing content. Some of that will be pre-recorded, smaller episodes on topics, things that are going on, things that are in the news, things that are just on my mind. Some of that will be, I'm going to go back and go through the year and find some of my favorite clips from old podcasts that I did from this year and post them periodically. We'll probably do like Flashback Friday or something like that. And some of it's going to be, I'm going to try, and after exams, I'm going to start writing again and start trying to pump out some more articles. Some of we've got a whole range of things planned for Christmas break. And then after New Year's, we're going to figure out when the first live stream of the year 2026 will be. So we've got some stuff coming down the pipe, but this is our last live stream. I don't know if this is going to be the last podcast this year. I might just stick with short form video, but this is at least our last live stream. And so I want to thank you guys, all of you, for helping me have such an amazing year this year, for tuning in, for having a great time with me. I appreciate all of you. All of you have been awesome. Thank you guys so much. God bless you. God loves you, and so do I. Christ is King. Remember that. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and have a great Thanksgiving next week with your family. Make sure to eat lots of turkey or ham if you're weird like that, but I prefer the turkey. Thank you guys. Have a great afternoon.